There is so much to get through in maths lessons. So as soon as the children come in, you need to get on with it. You need to be well prepared, of course, and it throws everything out when I'm late. But I still try to stick to the lesson plan, even if it does mean muddling through for a while. It always takes the class a few minutes to sort themselves out, although I do try to encourage them to be quick.
Settle down, please, as quickly as you can.
We're putting our homework on your desk, Miss Wright.
Oh, no, hang on to it just for now, will you? I'll collect it later on. Remember what I asked APT? Sit down as quietly as you can and get ready to listen. Come on, you two, settle down.
You're sitting in my seat, miss.
Well, perhaps you could sit somewhere else today, yes?
But this is where I usually sit.
Would you just sort yourselves out, please? Oh, good morning, Mrs. Latimer. Billy, is there something wrong?
Morning, Miss. We'll be fine once things have settled down.
Oh, right, yes. Come on, APT, settle down quickly as you can. We've got a lot to get through this morning. Michael, sit up properly, please.
Miss, I should have given you this.
Oh, no, I can't. Not just now, Jason. See me after the lesson, all right? Right, everyone. Kirsty, could you read out what I've written on the board, please?
You've not finished it, Miss.
What? Oh. Thank you, Kirsty.
Billy came in looking upset today. I must admit I'm never quite sure what to say to him. Luckily, he has Mrs. Latimer, so I tend to...
This is so nice. She just lets us get on with it most of the time. Never really get in trouble in the lessons, and I can spend most of my time talking with my friends.
Inside the classroom, Kath asked pupils to settle down, but because she had her back to the class, she was not aware that, as she said this, many of them were still out in the corridor. Anita tried to clarify the homework routine.
Putting our homework on your desk, Miss Wright.
Oh, no.
It seemed that Kath had forgotten that during the last lesson. She told pupils to put homework on her desk at the start of lessons. Kath gave Anita an incomplete response,
Hang on to it just for now, will you?
which left Anita feeling confused, as she was still not clear about what to do. Also, as Kath's reply was only to Anita, the rest of the class were unaware of her decision. Kath issued a reminder.
Remember what I asked APT? Sit down as quietly as you can and get ready to listen.
Reminding pupils of the rules is a good strategy, but unfortunately it was wasted here because Kath was writing on the board and did not notice that pupils were not listening. In fact, some pupils were still coming into the room. When Kath noticed Jason and Ryan tussling over a seat, she intervened with an ineffective instruction, which they both ignored. This led to further debate with Jason, in which she eventually backed down, urging the boys to sort it out for themselves. Kath did not refer to a seating plan to resolve the dispute. At the agreed time, Mrs. Latimer came in with Billy, but the class was so slow to get organised that Billy walked into the kind of unsettled environment that he finds difficult, and Mrs. Latimer looked concerned. Pupils continued to socialise with each other and ignored Kath's plea for them to settle. Kath seemed to have forgotten the plan that had been agreed for Billy, presumably because he had his head down when he came in. She asked him directly if anything was wrong, which he found difficult. Mrs. Latimer supported Billy by answering on his behalf.
We'll be fine once things have settled down.
And it was her comment that reminded Kath about his plan. Billy stuck to his script and tried to greet his fellow pupils as planned, but this was difficult for him because pupils were not in their seats. Kath was disorganised, fluctuating between greeting pupils, writing information on the board and giving instructions. Each of these actions was incomplete, and pupils continued to associate freely. In an attempt to establish order, Kath focused on Mike. Her instruction to him to sit up straight seemed inappropriate as some pupils were walking about the room, and some were still wearing their coats. Nonetheless, Mike did as Kath asked, if somewhat reluctantly. Following the school routine, Jason tried to present his report card at the start of the lesson. This flustered Kath, and she told him to see her at the end of the lesson. Jason looked bemused, but complied with her request. Next, Kath tried to get the class's attention by both clapping her hands and a verbal signal.
Right, everyone.
Then, without a pause, focused on an individual
Could you read
pupil.
out what I've written on the board, please?
She continued to talk to the class as if she had their full attention, even though some pupils were still talking and some had their backs to her. Kirsty followed through the instruction to read from the board, only to find that Kath had not finished her writing. Finding that she hadn't completed this action put Kath off balance again, and once again the start of the lesson was delayed.
Settle down, please, as quickly as you can.
You're putting your homework on your desk, Miss Wright.
Oh, no, hang on to it just for now, will you? I'll collect it later on. Remember what I asked APT? Sit down as quietly as you can and get ready to listen. Come on, you two, settle down.
You're sitting in my seat, miss.
Well, perhaps you could sit somewhere else today, yes?
But this is where I usually sit.
Would you just sort yourselves out, please? Yes. Come on, APT.
Kath completely failed to get this lesson off to a good start. I'm concerned about the amount of time she is wasting. APT are struggling to make sense of Kath's organisation and to follow through important school routines, such as handing in report cards.
Miss, I should have given you this.
Oh, no, I can't. Not just now, Jason. See me after the lesson, all right?
When she turned him away, Jason would have been concerned about how Kath would help him meet the targets on his report card, and perhaps worried about being late to history now he had to see Kath at the end of the lesson.
Right, everyone.
Other routines are also very easily ignored in an environment like this. Pupils were sitting down with their coats still on and their bags on their desks. This weakens our whole school approach. I remind staff regularly that pupils will try to circumvent rules if they are not applied consistently. Kath's inexperience showed as she tried to start the lesson. She was easily distracted by pupils' comments, lost focus, and sometimes seemed oblivious to what was going on in the classroom. I want her to focus specifically on routines at the start of the lessons, such as coats off and bags under the desks, sitting down, report cards checked, and to establish specific routines with the class for things like homework and distributing equipment.
I think Kath needs to develop a clear understanding about how lesson structure can support behaviour for learning, and in particular, where routines could help her to organise things better. For example, Kath might put a short starter activity on the OHP at the beginning of each lesson, so pupils have something to focus on as soon as they are seated. The head of maths should be able to suggest brief activities that could help the class to settle quickly. This would give Kath the opportunity to get organised and to deal with important matters such as welcoming Billy and supporting Jason with his report. Although the lesson started late, Kath should not compromise a clear lesson introduction. It is sometimes possible to make up time in the middle part of the lesson, but establishing a purposeful learning environment and giving clear instructions at the start of a lesson is essential. It would help Kath to plan the routine she wants to see in place at the start of the lesson. She should identify the routines that she needs to follow because they're part of school policy, and those she wants to establish as part of her own classroom organisation. I think it would help if Kath had a framework to guide her through each part of the lesson. For each section, this would include identifying exactly what it is that she wants the pupils to do, the resources they will need, how long she expects it to take, and how she will provide pupils with feedback on their behaviour and learning.